Hello, everyone, it's me again. And I'm going to be here with something different. This is part 4 of what if DC sold the rights to their characters. Part 1 was what if Fox made a Teen Titans movie. Part 2 is what if Sony made a Batman movie. And part 3 is what if Fox made a Legion of Superheroes movie. Now, a lot of you would be asking me to continue this upon things like New Line Cinema or Universal, but the issue is I couldn't think of a way to continue that series. So I'm going to be bringing this series back and taking it in a completely different direction. And it will basically be restructuring the cinematic universe of DC if they sold the rights to all their characters. But without wasting any more time, let's get started, shall we? Alright then. The first movie is Superman. In this timeline, Superman Returns doesn't exist. So Sally Brandon Routh does not exist as Superman, or at least the casting of him as Superman doesn't exist, unfortunately. He was really good as Superman, but his movie won't exist in this timeline. I think Henry Cavill could have still played Superman. I picture the film being kind of like Man of Steel, or at least an identical plot to Man of Steel, with some changes. Firstly, the beginning scene with Krypton's destruction would be cut and would instead be used for flashbacks when John Kent explains Clark where he came from, actually. I feel like a lot of the cast for Man of Steel would still be there, but however, instead of Amy Adams as Lois Lane, I probably would have someone like Keri Russell or Jessica Biel as Lois Lane. Jimmy Olsen would also appear, and he would be played by Chris Wood, and you'll see why. As for the villain, that would still be General Zod, but there'd be another character. That would be Lex Luthor, who would start off as a henchman to not Lex Luthor, Zod. Apparently he would start off as a minion of Zod. As for who I'd cast as Lex Luthor, I'd say either Billy Zane or Mark Strachan. But basically, the final battle would go down more like the Knight's Realms rewrite of Man of Steel, and Lex Luthor would escape in the end, setting up his return down the line. The after credits scene would reveal General Sonswick as Martian Manhunter. Next movie is Green Lantern. In this timeline, Universal would have gotten the rights of Green Lantern. Apparently, the after credits scene would maybe even set up Green Lantern if possible. As for who I could see as Green Lantern, I'd say maybe Ryan Reynolds still, or someone like Kyle Chandler. As for who I could see as Star Sapphire Carol Ferris, I'd say Yvonne Strahovski, maybe. As for the villain, rather than being Parallax, this would be Atrocitus. Yes, it's kind of like the 2011 film, but replacing Parallax with Atrocitus as the villain. As for what I could see as Atrocitus, I'd say Idris Elba. Atrocitus was suggested by Mr. Theme Songs in my old what the DCU is structured like the MCU video, well, part 1, back in July. So it's now come full circle. It's kind of coming true here. Thank you, Mr. Theme Songs, for the idea. As for Sinestro, the after credits scene would still sum up as a villain, but however, this does not lead into a sequel, unfortunately, due to rights issues between Universal and DC. But hey, Green Lantern and Sinestro return. Next movie is Superman 2. The film would basically adapt the Public Enemy storyline, and this would introduce Kara Zor-El's Supergirl. I think Melissa Benoist would have still played Supergirl. Her storyline is that she isn't used to Earth immediately. She and Clark have some conflict, but over the film they start to get along better, and Supergirl would then become Superman's sidekick. Kind of like how War Machine became Iron Man's sidekick. Martian Manhunter also appears along with Black Canary, who I could have seen still being played by Kay Cassidy. And of course, since Chris Wood and Melissa Benoist are married, this does set up a relationship between Kara and Jimmy. As for the villain, that of course would be Lex Luthor. And his minions would be Metallo, played by Scoot McNairy, and Parasite, played by Tim Blake Nelson. Apparently, the final battle would show Lex Luthor in a powered armor suit facing Superman and Kara. However, he escapes while Metallo is defeated, likely depowered when Superman is having a hard time defeating Metallo, but does end up doing so in the end. This would also mean Metallo doesn't return, or his return is placed on hold due to him being powered down. Or you could kill Metallo off. I don't know what would be the best option. In the end, Supergirl decides to be acceptive of Superman and sidekick mentor relationship, and Superman and Supergirl would face Parasite, who would have gotten away at the end. Next movie is Wonder Woman. Movie's the same except Arzria, who is Diana's adopted sister in the DCAU, would replace Ares as the main villain. And Diana's reasoning for leaving Themyscira is different. It's because Diana would have been banished by Hippolyta after she was manipulated by Arzria after Arzria found out that she was adopted and that she was not Diana's biological sister. Apparently the final battle would be between Arzria and Diana. However, unlike Ares, Arzria wouldn't die. But she would have a human disguise in the man's world when Diana gets there. And of course, you know Sir Patrick? Yeah, Arzria would kill Sir Patrick. But in the end, Diana would defeat her adopted sister and return her to Themyscira, and the movie ends with Hippolyta and Diana now being able to forgive each other, and Hippolyta being proud of her daughter. But Diana decides to go back to man's world, just to be with Steve and the gang. But she will return to Themyscira when the time calls. Next movie is The Flash, Scarlet Speedster. This would be an origin film for The Flash. I feel like Grant Gustin could have still played Flash. As for side characters, they'd be Iris West, played by Bryce Dallas Howard, and Wally West, played by Tom Holland. As for the villain, that would be Gorilla Grodd, who I could picture being played by Andy Serkis. As for side villains, they'd be the Rogues, with Captain Cold, Heatwave, Weather Wizard, Golden Glider, and Mirror Master. As well as the Thinkerer, who I could have pictured being played by Peter Capaldi still. While the others are played by their CW actors, and Weather Wizard would be played by Diego Luna. Apparently, we see how Flash and Captain Cold relate due to their family tragedies. Flash's mother was killed, and Captain Cold's father was abusive, and he ended up killing his father. In the end, they decide to team up to take down Gorilla Grodd, after Golden Glider is captured by the Thinkerer. In the end, they stop, but at the cost of Captain Cold dying. They apparently stop the gorillas, but Gorilla Grodd escapes. Or he's most likely captured. But his return will be set up at the end. Next movie is Justice League. The lineup would basically be the original team from the comics, except Batman and Aquaman would be replaced with Green Arrow and Black Canary. I would picture Stephen Amell still playing Green Arrow, by the way. The villains would be the Legion of Doom, who had been set throughout all of Phase 1. They would be Lex Luthor, Malefic, played by someone like Chiwetel Ejiofor, Sinestro, who would now be played by Hugo Weaving, instead of Mark Strachan, Azria, Gorilla Grodd, Count Vertigo, played by Matt Smith, or Jason Isaacs. But for the last member, that would be Malcolm Merlyn, who I think could have been played by the same actor playing the CW Arrow show. Apparently, Azria would have escaped first and seek out Lex Luthor's help, and they break out other villains, and so it's up to the Justice League to come together from the help of Martian Manhunter. In the end, they set up an invasion of the White Martians. Apparently, they had to find a way to stop the invasion from spreading all across Earth, and apparently Superman finds a way. However, this results in a fight between him and Lex Luthor, who is now in a powered armor suit again. In the end, Superman does stop Lex Luthor. And of course, by this point, Clark and Lois are starting to get ready to get married. And that would lead into Phase 2, as the movie would end with Clark proposing to Lois. And of course, Kara would appear at the end, as she would have been taking care of Metropolis while Clark is with the Justice League. The after credits scene would show Darkseid, who would have been set up in Superman 2 in an after credits scene through the movie's villain. I would say the villain in Superman 3 will be Brainiac, without spoiling anything. But that's it for part 4 of What If DC solarized their characters. This has been anticipated by some of you for a long time. Sorry it took so long with part 4, but I hope you all enjoyed it. But anyways, I will see you all later.